Well, afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, Kaz.
How you, pal?
Good.
Cool, man.
Ready for this?
100%.
Yeah. So a little bit different today, doing the show live, as you can see. We'll get into it a little bit later as to why we're doing it that way. But yeah, it is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's another little. It's a little bit more exciting, eh? Bit more
Yeah, it
cutting
is a
edge.
bit more of a build up, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not strangers to doing this live, but we are strangers to doing this live without a whiskey.
That is 100% true. Yeah. So obviously, not an option now for this, but yeah, a bit of a change, and I think it's going to definitely going to add a new dynamic to the show. The plan is to continue doing it live. We can't commit right now to a actual time slot. It's going to be Thursday afternoon. I think we both sort of agree on that, but
Yeah.
probably this is probably optimum for us right now. We'll see how it goes, but. Yeah, obviously with the ESCOM load shedding and stuff like that makes it a little bit more complex. So let's just see. But we should get a post out on a Monday morning
Yeah,
as to when the show is going to be.
when we have a fair idea of what's going on. Yeah, ESCOM, depending, as well as, we still plan to have a few guests join us in the next couple of weeks. So depending on their availability and how we can best schedule things around them, yeah, it'll be a bit of a variable.
Yeah, a bit of a variable, but nonetheless, yeah, I think it is ideal to have a set time so people know when they can catch you. This time that we're doing it is not exactly optimum for people. A lot of guys still at work and whatnot. So to get this in, it's not ideal. But the point of this is goes a bit deeper than just people watching us live. I think we both agree that in the past 3 months we've sort of come to the realization as well that our bread and butter on the Bryan show, the Bryan podcast, is the audio podcast. And we need to make sure that product stays a good quality product, which I think it is. But a huge amount of time, a huge amount of effort goes into video editing, and that's on a Thursday night. And when we looked at it, we thought, well, what are we actually doing here? Why don't we take the good elements out the live show and bring them into the studio show, and then vice versa with the studio. What's nice with this is we can still bring people on, except you and me won't be remote. We'll be in the studio, so we can invite people into the studio virtually. We can say that because we'll chat about that a bit later on. But let's get into it. How's your week been?
It's been cool, man. Busy. It's I think we'll both agree it's you're starting to feel the end of the year sort of vibes. Are we obviously getting excited for the end of the year, but you're seeing how busy it's getting because everybody's trying to cram training in. So it's it's cool. It's that November vibes.
You going away?
No, but
we're probably gonna be working anyway.
That's cool. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Yeah, this week, what I picked up in South African news anyway, the big thing for me is SA doesn't seem interested in mango anymore. No surprise there.
Not at all.
And obviously, it just leaves a very stressful period now over Christmas for a lot of the mango staff, which is just not ideal and not on in many respects. But didn't really expect anything else there. There's certain articles or a few things that have come out there. There's almost a push to get them to start operating again in December so that they don't lose licenses and routes and stuff like that. But how the hell are they going to do that?
No. I mean, the writing's been on the wall for ages now. I really feel for all the guys and girls working there because, I saw Jordan put up a post the other day. He had a memory that came up of the 2nd of November when one time closed down.
Yeah.
And it's just really crap that this kind of thing always happens so close towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's not a nice time of year to have that kind of thing happen. Granted, everything that the whole world's been through over the last year and a half, it's
not the best.
Not the best, man. Yeah, shame. And I just don't know what to say. My heart goes out to the guys there. Really.
I haven't heard like anyone overly stressing or anything like that, but obviously when things like this happen, it's just inevitable that there's you panic.
Yeah, it's only natural.
On the plus side, I heard through the grapevine that Airlink were putting a few people through interviews this past
really?
week. Yep.
That's cool.
That's not official. That's just
Okay.
what I heard in the rumor mill here at the Sim Center. So that's really good news.
That's
and
positive.
That is because what I was, I had written down here actually. If a company's going to go, if you're going to get bad news and it's this time of the year, one of the reasons it's so stressful is because you know that no one's going to be employing right now. People tend to wait till January, February till things kick in again, and then employment starts. But that's not the case. It looks like Airlink need people, which they do. We know that, and they have been employing in the rumor mill.
Well, that'd be cool. It would be nice if that's true. I mean, I was actually giving it some thought the other day as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure Fly Westair can't be too far away from being in a position where they would need to take on pilots. They're just taking on, or they're going to get another 2 of ex-Mango aircraft operational soon. I saw a post out the other day.
Yeah.
So what? So another 2 737s is how many crew per aircraft? I don't know. What's it, give or take? 6 or 8 crew per aircraft?
Yeah.
So,
well, does this open up a discussion? Or Mango need a private equity partner. They're not a massive company. If something can be done with all the debt and just thinking out the box here, do you think Westair would look at taking on Mango?
They might very well.
I just throwing it out there. I mean, it's not, definitely haven't heard that in the news, but I would think that it might be something they can look at. They obviously got the competent staff. They got all the pilots with the right ratings and
the aircraft, the routes, everything, the crew. It wouldn't surprise me if that isn't being thought about already. You know. Be interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Other than that, locally, Namibia, I suppose local.
Yeah,
big news there.
Close enough, eh? Fly Westair is now Fly Namibia.
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean, everybody that was with Air Namibia, I'm pretty sure will get.
Are they? Because they were an existing company. Are they taking more staff across?
Look, I don't know. I'm not close enough to anyone there. That,
maybe if anyone does know, you can let us shoot us a comment there, or let us know after the show. We'd like to comment on that, because I think it's a valid question. That they were operating already, so and I think quite cleverly. So it's a strategic, a strategic move. Anyway, we'll have to see.
Under the Sim Aero banner, it's good for us because they're going to be operating Embraer 145s and obviously, hopefully, doing their training here. So, it's good for us. And
speaking of Sim Aero, that's what it looks like outside the studio at the moment. We've just had one hell of a storm here in Joburg, so I'm going to apologize up front if the internet connection is not the best, because it did slow it down a bit. Yeah, one hell of a Joburg thunderstorm.
Yeah.
My first one for the season. You mentioned there was one when I was away the other day, but this was a monster.
Yeah, no, it was quite funny while you were away. I never forget that afternoon, because there were some helium balloons here that I think Denise gave for me to take home to my son, and I very cleverly tried to take these balloons out and put them in my car in the storm. To anyone that might have seen me, it must have looked pretty funny. But,
awesome. I got picked up something in Cape Town International Airport the other day. They welcomed Air France back there. That's a good sign for that. So first flight from Paris to Cape Town, more than 18 months, and that's a few other airlines will be doing the same thing. So that's great for Cape Town. Got to get back to normal. I was listening to Gareth Cliff this morning, and they were talking about, there's this element of are we going to go into a lockdown over December? And you can already see they're sort of trying to preempt, what the narrative might be. But there's hardly any cases. It's like way down. So they've got there's no real backup to try and lock things down. I'm not saying they are going to lock down, but there is definitely a bit of talk that a lockdown could happen over December due to our ridiculously bad vaccination rate and all the rest. And all these super spreader events that have been happening thanks to the elections and that. But let's just hope that doesn't happen. It scares away clients, it scares away tourists, and we just cannot deal with that right now. It's just not an option.
Hopefully it isn't, because maybe it's just us being paranoid. I saw on the news yesterday that the hospital in Tembisa here just released their very last COVID patient. So it's obviously an indication that the numbers are down.
Yeah.
So, given the fact that we've just had elections here and all the hype has been about the elections and what's going on in South African politics at the moment, it's almost as if COVID's been forgotten.
Yeah, that's how it feels. But it's been like that a few times where it's popped up, and now all of a sudden there's this demand for.
I really hope not. I mean, chatting to my mom yesterday as well, she was just saying, that definitely again from the charter side, you can see the bookings and the interest for people to flood into South Africa, particularly from the UK, since they opened their borders for us. The interest is there. They're looking hellishly busy for December going into January, which is awesome. It's what we need. So, hopefully there's no more.
We've got some of our staff from France coming to visit us here as well.
Yeah.
And that's and they buy those tickets and they do that stuff because they read, well, South Africa's open and the rates in that are low. So let's go. And we need that to kickstart this industry up. It's just an absolute top of the priority list now for all of us.
It has to, man. I mean, going so far as to comment on Dave Sanders' picture that he took the other day with the Emirates A380 landing in Joburg.
Mm-hmm.
It's like small things like that
give you a bit of a boost.
Yeah. Cool, man. It's happening. So
I agree.
Just keep it going.
We asked a question last week on the show, and the question was, what's your take on the pilot shortages? And there was a few interesting comments and some engagement from a few of our friends and colleagues overseas. Al Macaulay one. He said the USA is pumping from an aviation perspective. Have we already seen disrupted schedules and sign-on bonuses a reality? Canada not far behind, but Europe still a few more restrictions. Obviously here we've had everyone been heavily affected by the SAA, SACS, Mango. So it's a slightly different boat. Comment on YouTube from Jason. He said, no, that's absolute clickbait. There's a shortage of experienced pilots for specific operations, not just in general, because there's a surplus of pilots. David says, clickbait, in my opinion, and it gets worse for the guys rushing to flight schools based off that lie. Now, I think because we asked the question, we need to go into it a little bit more. I'm of the opinion that there is a massive shortage. And I'm not basing that on South Africa. We're pretty small fry here at the moment. However, I think there is something that should be discussed. I mean, this last weekend, American Airlines canceled 1,900 flights. It all started, there was a bit of bad weather and some strong winds there somewhere near Dallas. And a few aircraft couldn't get in, they diverted. And it creates this knock-on effect. You know what it's like? There's no one sitting there on standby. So it's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean there are pilot shortages because there's no one sitting on standby? Well, let's just look. Southwest had it a couple of weeks before. Spirit Airlines as well. They had major disruptions across the board. Now, the US, the next big thing happening there on the 8th of November, if you are vaccinated and a tourist, you can now go into the States again, which is good news. Okay?
Yeah.
However, that means a lot more flying. Now, a lot of the flying that's been going on in America has been the shorter haul stuff. You know what short haul's like. It's a little bit more difficult for the roster people to manage because sectors come into play and, duty times and all that. So they're balancing that sort of side of things. If you go back to 2020, all right, 4,500 pilots in the States have retired early. 4,500.
It's big numbers.
That's big numbers. It's massive, massive numbers. Now, obviously, you don't replace those overnight, and early packages and that were offered. So those pilots are gone. If you look at America, they work a little bit similar to us. You got to go get your comm first. You get your 250 hours, and then they look with a fresh comm there. The guys look for a sort of a feeder airline, like a regional, to go and work and get your 1,500 hours so that you can get into the mainline carriers. So if you compare that to Europe, Europe doesn't work that way. 250 hours, right, with your comm. They then get trained to be airline pilots. So they become sort of professional airline pilots. These guys, they don't go fly caravans or king airs around. They go straight from their ab initio into the right seat, or P3 for a while, I suppose, on a wide body, and they become sort of career airline pilots. In the States, you still got to get that 1,500 hours. So now what's happened there? You've got this major shortage at the mainline carriers. So if you've got 1,501 hours, you've got a job now at the mainline, one of the mainline carriers. All right, and that's fine. So mainline guys are doing all right, but what's going to happen to the regionals? Because none of the youngsters at least are going to stay the minute they get over that 1,500 mark.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the question now: how serious are they in the US? How serious is Joe about keeping the infrastructure or the travel industry, the airline industry, pumping there in America? Because is that going to open the opportunities for the likes of unemployed South Africans holding a green mamba? I'm not saying it. Just to me, it seems inevitable that they're going to have to look elsewhere to find their pilots, and there are none. They're not going to be enough in the States. It's just simple. You look at it right now; they're just not enough. They can't get the training done.
Yeah,
they're not enough sims. There are not enough training captains to get the training done fast enough. The main carriers, they cannot employ fast enough. So there's this major problem with regional CRJs, E-jets, anything that that 50 to 76 seater sort of bracket. Big problems there, and maybe, just maybe, opens up an opportunity for other South Africans or anyone, expats in Hong Kong and whatnot, that might prefer to move across to the States.
We can only hope so. That would be nice, and it would be ideal. Another thing that makes me sort of excited in a way about this, because I do agree there is going to be a shortage. We're not feeling it in South Africa just yet, but it will filter down. And as soon as that starts to happen, and the guys do get opportunities and move on, you will definitely notice the shortage here. What I think is going to be cool is the fact that at the moment, a lot of airlines and corporate companies are exploiting the fact that there have been too many pilots, and guys will basically fly for food.
Yeah.
But when this shortage does catch up, and guys, experienced pilots start moving around, these companies that have been riding the tide of paying guys sort of damn near minimum wage are going to be forced to try and retain their pilots and pay them more. So I'm looking forward to the day where you start seeing pilots getting paid for what they're worth again. Just putting it out there.
No, it's a valid point.
We've been chatting to guys that have been coming through, are flying up in Africa under pretty tight conditions for half the money they used to earn. And they've all said, the minute the gaps are open, they're taking them. So,
well, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
It is a very valid point, though. A lot of these pilots, these ones that resigned in the States, a lot of them have said there's no ways they're going back, because they've obviously, a lot of them were near retirement. That's fine. Remember, aviation a little bit different to all the other industries, not just retirements in aviation. Let's face it, it's been across the board. However, in aviation, you've got the 65-year-old hard cut-off block that you cannot go past. So other industry, they might say to, if they're looking like they're going to get short, do you mind, we'll extend your your contract for a few more years. In aviation, it's just simply not possible. So this is where the problem is. Those 4,500 that left, a lot of them were senior training captains and senior management pilots. It's a problem.
It is.
There is a shortage.
And the thing is, bearing in mind as well, don't discount how long it takes to train an airline pilot. 4,500 people to replace that. Okay, if you've got a bunch of experienced guys lying around, maybe 3 months and you'll have someone back online. But when that experience gap that we've spoken about so much in the past starts to get bigger, and you've got to take less experienced guys, it takes them 6, 7, sometimes 8 months to train them up to airline standards. So that's just going to exacerbate things.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Should we explain what the hell we are actually doing and what the vision of the show is?
Yes, because
All
I think this is what we've both been very excited to get on. This is the topic we've been most stoked about this week.
Yeah. So we've had a bit of a discussion this week. Ryan and I are both firm advocates of you need to adapt before you're forced to adapt. And thinking of Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, where they spoke about companies like BlackBerry and things like that didn't adapt. You just get swallowed up. And we have been watching what's been happening out there in the tech space. And one of the interesting things that has happened this past week has been Facebook's change of name to Meta. Yeah, Meta, which is short for Metaverse. Now, one of the things we've done here, we've gone live, which is immediately it improves the engagement. There's a few people watching us. We got some nice comments that we'll bring up just now, and we're bringing the people closer to the show. But Meta is all about virtual reality, and I'm putting my betting on the horse that virtual reality is going to be the next thing.
Very soon. Very soon.
Yeah. So what you can actually do with this, and a lot of people don't understand it. Now, what I want to say, this is actually my Bryan advisory for the week, is to say go and do a bit of research about this, because this is a big thing. And if you know about the technology and you know what it's all about, you can obviously partake in a lot of the conversation that comes from it, and you don't want to get left behind at the beginning. Now, the metaverse is obviously, it's a few things, and it's not just Facebook that are doing it. Microsoft are doing it. They're doing it with Microsoft Teams. Yeah. We use Teams on a daily basis. The limit with things like that, even if you do online training or things like that, is you've got an interface in between. You're talking to the computer, and the computer on the other side is, the input and the output's a little bit difficult. But when you go virtual, they're not quite the same. And I think what it's going to do, it's going to open a lot of doors for people that find the way we do things now a bit too complicated. My mom, for example, I mean, she can work a phone fine, and she's good, but you've got to check in for a flight. She asked me to do it. There's an element of disconnect there between her fully understanding how to do things. And I think a lot of people at home, they get this. Their parents say, "Oh, won't you sort this out for me?" It's totally understandable. Of course, you do it. The problem is they get left behind because technology doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Now we're going into an entirely new sort of phase where there's this massive shift. And let's talk about VR for a second. Here we are at SimAero. And what we can basically now do is we can have a digital version of this building, of the simulators, in a VR space. Now you can use it to run simulations in your company. I mean, flight simulators, these actual simulations. You can, instead of doing online training through an interface like a Zoom or Teams, you can do that in your virtual classroom. You can actually come and sit down in that virtual classroom and have a lecture, which is pretty awesome for people that are distant from where you are. I mean, think about the opportunities that open up with possible, going to a university that ordinarily wouldn't be an option. Now you've got the option to actually possibly go to that university, and not only go and benefit from the normal online stuff you can do now, but actually benefit by going into an actual classroom. You can do that through video, like we're doing now. You can do it through your avatar. You can do it through your holographic image as well. So the avatar is like in between. A lot of people are doing that. They're concentrating on their avatar because they're going to use that avatar as their little business avatar, walks around and does things. Now, the one thing, when I started this podcast a couple of years ago, the one thing that really got me excited about it was there was a talk by, it wasn't a talk, it was a podcast with Joe Rogan and Naval Ravikant. And he mentioned that you need to do something with leverage. You have to, if you're going to create something, then instead of talking to a classroom, if you do it, through the internet, you then are, you're reaching a hell of a lot more people. Now, what we found when we did live, Ryan was, I know, a big fan of doing it live because of the engagement that you get from the people. And now with VR, if you can think of our studio here, how nice would it be if we could actually invite people into the studio? So you'll have like basically like a talk show with actual seats there.
Yeah.
And a few of our friends that are listening now, Jason Northwood there, he can come and sit down in our virtual studio and watch us virtually and engage with us virtually. So you can come sit in our office, my virtual office, and we can have a conversation without the computer interface in between. And I'm betting on the fact that this is going to be huge.
I think so, Brian. I mean, this is a hugely exciting and very vast sort of topic. I want to chuckle a bit because, you know,
I hope that hasn't gone over.
Yeah, well, this is what I want to say. You know, you and I very often have these conversations when you're sitting downstairs in the office, you know, not in the podcast scenario. And we talk about things like this. And then very often we say, like, we should actually mention this on the podcast. But then we backpedal because we're worried that the stuff that we're interested in and the way we see this tech space going it does sound a bit whack. And sometimes might sound as if we've left the reservation.
Yeah, I don't want it to sound like we've left the reservation.
But the thing is, if you're not paying attention to what's happening in the tech space now with things like Facebook or Meta and virtual reality, you are going to get left behind.
Yeah.
And, you know,
you don't want to do that.
You want to go and spend some time, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, and get to terms with what guys are talking about.
So it's not such a big shock when it does come into play. Your business might need to adapt to this sooner than you think.
It's a fact. I mean, and you need to, for starters, get used to the terminology. First of all, I mean, most people, you say metaverse and they'll be like,
what is that?
You know,
there are lots of podcasts out there that you can listen to that talk about this stuff. I mean, there are podcasts that are dedicated to VR and AR stuff.
You have to listen to them and get your brain around it because, man, this is becoming a reality. And I'm going to almost put a bet on it that by this time next year, we might be doing this in virtual reality. I'm speculating, but I think it's going to be that soon.
Look, the Dubai Air Show is coming up. We spoke about trying to see if we could would be cool. But one of the things that are being demoed there is VR for aviation training. We're using the X-Plane 11 here. Now you can actually connect that to one of these sort of Oculus Quest headsets, and you can look around the aircraft. I mean, in real time, you can actually go and make changes, have a look out the window and see what it looks like. I mean, for cockpit familiarization and things like that, it's an absolute sort of no-brainer. These procedural trainers, paper tigers and that we call them. I mean, how long have they really got to go when that VR sort of stuff is out there?
You know, just thinking about it in an aviation training context, your soft courses like safety and emergency procedures training, where you normally have to go and find an old scrapped airplane and go and kit it out with those, you know, old expired life jackets and simulate firefighting. You would be able to do that in virtual reality. And so just from a training perspective, this is going to open up doors and avenues and a whole new world, excuse the pun, for everything. And it's something that you need to pay attention to because it's going to get big.
So that's our tip. And that's why we laugh, because we want to be closer to the people that want to be close to us. The support that we get is hugely valuable. It influences the show, and we want to bring those people in a little bit closer.
It's almost a form of conditioning, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Well, let's have a look. Okay, so the advantage of doing our live show was very clear. We could engage with people, so we want to get that. The disadvantage was we're running the live show and this show, and they sort of overlapped in a way. The studio show's been our sort of bread and butter. We love that, and we're going to carry on with this regardless. The difference is it's going to be live. If you are listening to the audio version and you want to check it out. See, you might prefer it. To be honest, I always lean more towards the audio side of things. I listen to stuff in the car, whether you're at gym or whatnot, and I always lean towards the audio side, but with this VR shift, and that I think it has to be live. It has to be reality.
Yes.
So you can't have this pre-recorded thing. If you're walking through the metaverse, you're going to see, who's doing what at the moment. Bryan is live. Let me go in and have a look. If you're not live, no one's going to say. If it was recorded 24 hours ago, that's old news.
Yeah,
that's old news.
It's kind of like to almost compare it to online gaming. You can't go and walk through a 3D game that was played 24 hours ago.
Yeah,
that's kind of thing. It was starting to sound a bit whack. Let me not get too much into that. But I'm looking forward to talking about this more and hopefully experiencing it more and more as we go into the future with this.
Well, the one guy, CEO of Microsoft, he visited a COVID ward in a hospital. There was a doctor performing surgery remotely. You can visit the Toyota warehouse remotely. So it is going to happen.
Oh yeah,
there's no question. Should we, seeing that we're talking about engaging with people, should we see who came to see us? Jason.
I've got one more tech tip. Before we do that,
do it.
The next tech tip would be start saving for virtual reality goggles.
Headsets,
because you're going to need them, and they're not going to be cheap.
No,
but you're going to need them.
I ordered a Quest 2.
Did you?
But that's going to be outdated very quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone's bringing one out at the moment, so keep a lookout for those.
Cool.
Go Aviation. Jason, thank you. Afternoon, gents. Awesome to see a new live episode in the studio. Jason's going to be on. He doesn't really know yet, but we're making him. He's going to come in. Leon, for you, an afternoon, gents. Leon, thank you for your support. Our friend, what do we call him? From our Canadian correspondent,
Al Macaulay. Yeah, is he watching?
Welcome back to the live show.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
There he is, Marcel Smith. Thanks, afternoon, gents. Good to be able to watch live. Thanks,
That's
Marcel.
my neighbor.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for the.
That's cool.
Awesome. He says the ticker at the bottom looks nice. So thanks for that.
Cool.
If there's a bit of background noise, it's because of that bloody rain today. That's not anything else. Dave Sands watching us off Facebook. So where are we? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Eh?
Yeah.
Dave there. Greetings, gents. Again, just saw a bid is in to buy Air Namibia itself. So Air Namibia and Fly Namibia, maybe they might be butting heads in the near future.
She was.
Don't know. Hey, here's my father-in-law. Nice to watch a podcast live. Wish you all the best. Thanks, Dad. Cool. There's my missus. Nice to watch live again. Thanks, Bino. Adrian Bardenhorst. Hi, guys. Nice to watch a podcast live. Awesome. Adrian's been an awesome supporter of ours.
Yeah. That's magic, man. These guys are from all over the world watching this time of day. It's probably...
Try to work that out quickly.
Quite late.
Go working on the math there. Just a note here from Jason. There are definitely options opening up in the States for expats. Pilots are now eligible to apply for an EB2 visa. Ryan, what's that? Which looks like we're moving into an opportune time for SAFers looking for work abroad.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to happen. No doubt.
Cool.
Markets like Asia and the Middle East also pull many US and other foreign pilots, and those markets haven't yet got up to full steam. So in due course, they will add to the North American shortage. Yep.
Good news,
Very, very good news. Jason, again on AI, going to be all going well. Will be in serious demand in a year from now. Yep. That's going to happen.
I can see it happening.
He agrees with me. You're on the numbers, Bryan.
Yeah.
I love how you're at the forefront of the future. Human nature is to block some of these things out as they seem far out there, but the reality is that it's happening. It is happening. Yeah.
I mean, you almost want to, I was thinking about it this morning, to explain it in layman's terms, it's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Slightly different. You don't go onto a ticky box phone and get sucked into some downstairs underground. It's going to be as simple as putting on a helmet or a headset, but I'm pretty excited about this, man.
But it's Dale Williams, the fact that surgeons are performing operations remotely. What about sim instruction remotely? No, it's going to happen, and then it opens up the doors for people that are the best in the business, because if you're a sought after surgeon or instructor or whatever it is, maybe you are maybe you produce an MCC lecture that is one of the top ones in the world. Why should you be restricted to only offer that lecture to your small community here in South Africa?
Exactly.
It opens it up where you can actually now we can do the lectures for our our French facility as an example, because the students are visiting your virtual classroom.
It's going to change everything. I mean, we've got small children. How are they going to be going to school in the near future? It's not going to be the regular run of the mill.
No ways. We said it the other day. I got a phone call like you do. Somehow they work out that you've had a child, and they on the phone. No, you need to take out this policy and that policy. And the one policy was, if something happens to me, then my child they'll sort out her university for 3 years. So what university? No, like one of the main sort of really
one of the main universities that will cease to exist.
19 years time, you're not going to be cruising around, moving into digs in Cape Town because you're going to university there. I mean, let's face it, it was great, but that's done. I mean, it's not going to happen.
The funny thing is, like they say, they chirp, like you could be saving money to buy your teenager a car when they turn 18. It's like, when my son turns 18, there's going to be like flying taxis and everything. So,
are Lati's interested in cars? I don't think so. Geez, how's this rain? Can you?
Nuts,
I wonder if anyone can hear it, but it is pumping. Definitely a few diversions going on from Joburg this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's quite intense.
Yeah, one of the things that VR does, it brings communities together, and I like to think that from a community aspect, that's sort of what we've done on the show. We have a constant input from a lot of the same people, and they then spread the show on to a lot of their friends, and that's how a community develops. And hopefully what you're trying to do is add value to that community. The more value you can add, the more advantageous it is to actually listen to what we have to say. Now, when you talk about these VR spaces, I mean, what connected you to your friends when you were young? It was probably a lot of the things like running around outside, getting in trouble together, and then either running away from the security guard, or hopefully not the cops or something. But that's where the bonds tended to happen. Now, from what I've heard and what I've read, that is now very much lost, because the youngsters obviously spending a lot of time. And let's face it, these metaverses exist already in games. Minecraft and all these things. This is where the youngsters go and hang out. And instead of going around and throwing stones at cars that drive by and things like that, and getting in doing stupid things like we used to do, it's a total different world. Now, with the shift to VR, the adults will enter this space. If you think about the youngsters, the information that they get, a lot of it is brand new information from people all their own age. And it could be why the world is in a bit of a state at the moment. And with this shift, and with things getting bigger, maybe, just maybe, with a little bit of better infrastructure and more clever minds involved, it'll be a good thing across the board. Might be a good thing for the entire world. So that's why I think this is going to be a massive, massive thing. I'm very, very interested to see where it goes, and I want to be a part of it right from the beginning. So Bryan Air podcast will be live from now on.
Yeah, and
because of
that, I mean, I'm thrilled we're moving in this direction, because everything we've been doing up until now, like, working so hard on our student communities and the stuff we've been talking about off air, it's kind of like driving towards a point now and start making sense.
Yeah.
And and I don't think we're crazy if we talk a little bit more about this tech stuff in a bit more depth in future shows.
Because we will be.
Yeah.
Well,
It's very interesting.
this is another area where we're going to get involved. I think that having a community around this tech stuff where people can bounce ideas off is just as important as our aviation community. Let's face it, our aviation community, we've all taken a knock, all of us around the world. Some of us have had to move continents to find jobs. Other guys have been stuck overseas for months and months. They haven't been home to see their families. And it's been a very hard hit community.
Yeah.
I'm not even so sure we've seen the worst of it, not from not having a job, but the effects sometimes are they delayed.
Yeah.
You get these delayed effects. So if you're looking at trying to improve your tech knowledge and see what the next big thing is, maybe the community that we're going to create around that tech space is going to be quite interesting. I'll use something that I hear quite often. It's not that we are experts in that space. I almost guarantee we might not have the answer to your question, but I think we've got a good idea as to where you could find that answer.
Yeah.
And that's what the community is all about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So stand by for
maneuvering.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you, man.
Thanks, pal. Yeah, next week we've got Keegan Glanfield joining us, and looking forward to that one as well.
Keegan.
Yeah,
he's gonna be great.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but thanks, man. I enjoyed this, and
the flying socks.
That's him.
That's Keegan. Yeah, started a business. Another guy's gone out there and started a business, and this one's gonna work. We're going to be involved. We're going to make sure that the Bryan subscribers get a discount. We'll ask them first. But
I'm remaining them.
It should happen. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Cool. And let us know what you think. If you got any tips, advice for us, please, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know. It is new, so give us a bit of room. Might take us 1 or 2 weeks to find our feet, but definitely feel comfortable live. And it always makes it so much easier to know that the guys are out there watching us. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Until next week, we're out of here.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, pal.
Cheers, bud.
Ciao.